For months, the Catholic Church has been caught in a torrent of sex abuse scandals involving priests and bishops in parishes from Ireland to Germany and Brazil. Even the Pope has been caught in the backlash. By contrast, senior churchmen in Australia have held out their investigative processes as a model, saying the Towards Healing program ensures abusers are driven out of the ministry. But tonight, the 7:30 report can show how at least 2 priests found by those church investigations to have abused multiple victims continue a role in the church, including celebrating Mass. This report from Tim Palmer.
Come to us, the Catholic Church in Australia has told victims of sexual abuse, promising it would deliver them justice. But now the Church's Towards Healing program is being labelled a sham by some victims who trusted the Church to deal with offending priests.
It's called Towards Healing, but nothing they did has helped me heal. If anything, it made me feel like they were protecting him.
It hasn't given me any justice or any healing whatsoever. And in the meantime, the person who's been the abuser is living a great life while you're still suffering.
I advise victims to go to the police, not Towards Healing.
Don't go to the church itself.
I don't trust them.
Kellyanne Roach's story began at the Catholic youth group Antioch in northwest Sydney in the early 80s. Her Irish immigrant parents deliberately chose St Gerard's Church because the priest there was Irish, Father Finian Egan. That decision would put their daughter in the hands of a man the Church has now judged to be a pedophile.
I just tried to stop him from touching my breasts, to show him that that's not where I want his hands, without saying anything, because he was... Priests are one step down from God. Come on. After about a month of it, I knew, and it would escalate. So it was hands between my legs and, touching my backside, and yeah, I knew. I was 15.
This victim, who wants to be identified only as Kathy, went to primary school at St Gerard's around 30 years ago. A bright girl, she was picked for errands to the presbytery where Finian Egan lived. He taught her guitar and also visited her family home.
There was nowhere that was safe for me. I wasn't safe anywhere. The abuse started when I was in the later years of primary school. Even when I left that primary school and went to another high school, we still attended the church.
It would be decades before the 2 women, independently of each other, decided to take action to ensure Finian Egan was removed from any role with the church.
I approached the church with the sole aim of having him taken out of ministry and taken away from children.
Both victims were told by the church the Towards Healing process would only take a matter of months. In the end, it took years.
Look, it hasn't been healing at all. The past couple of years that I've been going through the process have probably been the hardest 2 years of my life.
Along the way, Finian Egan was said to have retired, but he was able to drag out the investigation, at one stage even going on a lengthy holiday overseas.
He was in Ireland playing golf while I was suffering over here through this process. And I was outraged But I was also devastated that they were not taking me seriously. They were not taking anything seriously.
In the end, the church's investigator believed the women. The findings of the Towards Healing investigation included that Finian Egan touched the genitals of one of the girls and the breasts of the other, and engaged in other inappropriate physical contact with each of them. Finian Egan has refused to be interviewed or to comment on this story, and insisted throughout the inquiry that he was innocent. Having won their long-awaited decision, the two women waited for the church to act. But the church's first moves were a bungle. Broken Bay Diocese Bishop David Walker began by sending the wrong apology letter to each woman. When they did get the right letter, the words from Bishop David Walker appeared unequivocal. He wanted
to apologise to you for the way you have been treated by Finian Egan. What happened to you is contrary to what is expected of a member of the clergy. We proclaim a gospel which sees this behaviour as totally unacceptable, and I regret that you have been exposed to it by a member of our clergy.
But what happened next stunned both victims. Within a month of that apology being written, here at St Agatha's Church, only 100 metres or so from the bishop's office, Father Egan, rather than being punished, was being honoured. The 7:30 report has discovered that on the 23rd of August last year, Father Egan conducted a full Mass to mark his 50 years service as a priest, a Mass that was advertised in bulletins across the diocese.
It blew my mind, you know. They actually conducted a Mass in celebration of him. He's appeared in magazines and he's still listed on their website and so forth as being, you know, this great man who's devoted 50 years of his life to the church.
It makes you feel like a victim again. Like the church, even though they upheld my allegations and they tell me that they believe me, they don't show it by taking away his robes as a priest.
It's not the only association Father Egan continued with the church, despite its findings against him. In the past 2 years, he's played golf in church tournaments. In one instance, just months after the bishop's apology, Finian Egan represented Mary MacKillop Girls' School, partnered by the school principal. And Finian Egan remains listed on the diocese website as a priest, like other retired priests apparently available for supplementary duties like weddings.
I feel like ringing a lot of people and telling them what he is. But I suppose my biggest fear in that is that they already do and they don't care. I want him held accountable for his actions. I did not want him dying a saintly priest when I knew what he was.
The 7:30 report asked Bishop Walker a range of questions about Finian Egan's continued role within the church, in particular whether he'd authorised the Mass at St Agatha's and whether Finian Egan continued to celebrate weddings. Bishop Walker said it was inappropriate to respond. Likewise, the Towards Healing office at Sydney's Archdiocese said it couldn't comment on the matter. The Finian Egan story is mirrored in the case of Father Paddy May in Melbourne. The one-time Yarraville priest was found by the church to have groped a teenage girl and her sister in their family home in the early 80s, and the church has confirmed it upheld another more serious sexual assault claim against Father May dating from the 1970s. The church assessor ruled in 2007 that Father Paddy May can no longer act as a priest. Yet Father May continues to celebrate Mass, most recently for last St Patrick's Day in Clifton Hill. Melbourne's Archbishop responded to questions about Paddy May's continued ministry, saying Father May's now been repeatedly warned in writing not to engage in celebrating Mass.
You must therefore refrain from any public ministry whatsoever. This is a serious matter for your own welfare and that of the church.
A spokesman for the Archbishop added that the Archbishop recognises that when Father May contravenes his explicit directions, this can be distressing to Father May's victims. He apologises to them and will take appropriate action against Father May. Too late, according to one of those victims.
Jesus was furious in the temple. I think Jesus would be furious at seeing how, particularly the Melbourne Archdiocese, is dealing with its victims. You know, they should be ashamed of themselves as far as I'm concerned, because there is nothing church-like or Christ-like about their behaviour.
With the church around the world engulfed in a tide of sex abuse scandals, just last week Sydney Archbishop George Pell was suggesting the Australian Church's response was a comparative success, and that, under Towards Healing, abusers are permanently removed from ministry. Of the continued roles of Finian Egan and Paddy May in the church, Cardinal Pell's office today told the 7:30 report these claims should be taken up with the bishops concerned. Further steps need to be considered against offender priests who do not follow the protocols. The victims now say they'll go where they believe they should have gone in the first place. What do you plan to do next?
Go to the police. I want him in jail. If they're not going to derobe him, I don't want him near children.
Tim Palmer, was that quite powerful report?